We will now go through how to render an image in IronCAD. This will be part 1 of 3 videos that explain what options you have and also how to create an image of the Sterling engine that we have created. First, we will open the engine here. I will change the camera view, starting point, double-click the middle mouse button to fit scene, and I think I will move the camera to this position, and I will also save this camera view as render view, like so. Well, to render an image or to render what you have on the scene, we come up here to the visualization tab, and here we have the render option or render image. To render an image, the default settings is like this. You have this button here. So when you open the visualization tab, you will have this render button. Render now. We can also use Ctrl R on the keyboard. So I will click this button and we will render the scene. Well, it's not too exciting image, but in the end you will see that you will have a very nice image of the Sterling engine. So I will close this window. When I click the close button, we have this save as warning because we have not saved the image. If we click yes, we can save it, or we click no, we can continue without saving. But if we click yes, we can save the image if we want, and there are several different file types you can use to save the image. And here in the option button you can also decide how many dots per inch you want for the image. Now it's set to 200 by 200. But I will click cancel here. And you can also right click the image, save as, close or keep. But I will close the image. If we come up here, click this button, we have render option. And this is advanced rendering properties. We have 3 tabs: image, supersampling and global illumination. Image tab contains some settings for the image. For instance, the size of the image. Now it's set to 50%. It means it is 50% of what you see here in the background, in my background of this window. And if you use full size or full window size, it will render the whole window here with that size. You can also use the custom size. You can change here the pixels. Now it's 640 pixels by 480 pixels. If you want to create an image for printing in a magazine or something like that, perhaps you need 3000 by 2000 pixels to get enough pixels to get a good result when you print. Then you have supersampling. It's about the quality of the image that you render. Now it's set to medium, but you can use high, or you can also customize the settings here. But it means also that the higher value you have, the longer time it will take to render the image. So I will set to medium. Then we have global illumination. When you render the image, the render engine will consider the lights that are in the scene. Now it's no global illumination at all, so there are only the lights that the render engine will consider and calculate how the parts in the scene will look like with the lights that we have in the scene. But if you use, for instance, full illumination, then the render engine will consider the environment also. How will the lights reflect on the material, on all parts in the scene, and that reflection, how will that affect the other parts in the scene? So there are some settings here from low to extreme, and of course the higher value you have, the longer time it will take to render the image. So in this case I will click none, and I will also click cancel. If we come up here, the render section, we find some buttons. If we click render here, we will see the scene properties. And now we see that the edge display options draw part edges, and that's what we have here in the scene. We see the part edges, and also show smooth edges, and also smooth shading and realistic rendering, shadows and ray tracing. Then we have advanced settings, and that's what we have just gone through. It is the same as under render option. Then we can click background. Here we see the background that we have right now is for the template we are using for the 3D scene. The image is carblue.tiff. You can change the image if you want to have another background. You can also use color instead of an image. You can click here to choose the color you want. And there is also a 3D environment. It means that you can add an image to the background, and it says recommend using HDR image file. It is a panoramic image to create a 3D environment. So that's possible too. Then you have also skybox. Here choose predefined skybox. There are some of them. And when you use this one, it seems like the engine is placed in a box with this image in the background. But we will use this 2D texture. If we click here on this button, we have realistic. Right now we have ground and dynamic mode. If I select this box and also reflect and click OK, we will have a reflection on the scene and also a shadow around the Sterling engine. Realistic. So I will uncheck these two. If you choose, for instance, shadow map or bloom, so we can read here, please note that this effect is only available in DirectX and OpenGL2 driver. To change the driver to view the settings, you have to go up here to the option window, and under the menu rendering, there you can change from OpenGL to OpenGL2 or to DirectX. But we will use ground and dynamic mode. Then we have show. We can show the lights in the scene by selecting these boxes or check these boxes, lights and cameras. Right now they are not visible because we don't need to see them. But for instance, if we add a light to the scene, we will also check this box. It will automatically be checked because we have to see the lights to adjust it, to get it in the right position and so on. Same with the cameras. And then you have to uncheck these boxes when you don't want to see the cameras, want them to be invisible. Then we have camera. This is the active camera, the perspective camera. The field of view angle is now 14 for this camera that I'm using. We see also the position of the camera in the scene and in what direction it is pointing. Then we have exposure for the active camera, and we will leave the settings as it is, but we can change here if we want to. So I will click OK. The other buttons here, the realistic and exposure, is what we saw when we click this button. We have them here. Then we have edit camera. We can edit the camera. We can also use a camera wizard to add a camera, or show cameras in the scene, or insert camera without a wizard. And here we can insert light and also show lights in the scene. If you come down here to the scene browser, we have cameras and we have lights. If this one is expanded, then you can click the minus sign here to close the Sterling engine assembly. If we click the plus sign to expand cameras, we see that there are 7 different camera views. And this is the same that we have here in this button. Under this button, we have front, top, left, right, back, and bottom, and so on. It's the same as here. Now this one is the active camera. We see that because of the frame, the red frame around this icon. So if we select this camera and right click, we see that we can also choose look through camera. And we have also camera wizard and camera properties. For instance, if I select the right camera and right click, I can choose look through camera and we will see the engine from the right. And if we click the front camera, right click, we can see the engine from the front. But I will choose the isometric camera here. And there are also camera properties, as we saw before, here in the menu. Then we have the lights. I will close cameras. There are 5 lights in the scene. When we select the light, we see that there is a line. That's a guideline for the camera to show us in what direction is the light pointing. The same goes with the cameras. If I select the camera, we will see this line. It shows us in what direction is the camera pointing. If you right click a light, you have a light on. You can turn off the shadows and turn off the light. You also have light properties, and here we see the intensity of the lights, and now it's 0.5. It also casts shadows, and we can also choose the color of the light, and we can also use advanced settings. Here we can change the settings for the shadows for that light. So I click cancel, like so, and this is just a brief overview of the settings for the scene, for the cameras and for the lights, and how to render. In the next video we will continue to create a nice image of this styling engine.